No one ever came close to Cell 9. It was the most dangerous part of Karzal Prison Moon, hidden far beneath the surface. The guards called it the Pit of Death. Even the strongest warriors never dared to look through the glass because behind that thick energy wall, she waited. They said she wasn't a person, not anymore. They said she had no soul, only power. Her body was tall and alien, covered in glowing lines that pulsed like veins of fire. Her eyes, like twin suns burning, watching, always awake. She never blinked, never slept, and never spoke until the day he arrived. His name was Eli Mercer, a human repairman. He had no weapons, no armor, just a toolbox and a tired face. He was sent to fix the power junction near the lower cells. "Don't go near Cell 9, the guards warned. But something about that name made him curious. The moment he stepped into the corridor, he felt it pressure, like invisible hands pressing against his chest. And then he saw her, sitting cross-legged on the cold floor, her head tilted, her body still like a statue. But her eyes followed him. Eli stopped. She didn't move. But the air around her seemed alive, buzzing, sharp. He knew the stories. This creature had destroyed a battlecruiser with one scream, melted a squad of elite soldiers in under a minute. People said she was born to kill, that even machines went offline near her. Still, Eli didn't turn away. He looked right into her eyes, and she looked back. Then, she did something no one had seen in years. She blinked. The energy wall flickered slightly behind him, a minor fault. He knelt to check. The circuits, tools clicking in his hands. She watched every move, silent and still. "Are you broken too?" Eli said softly, not expecting an answer. But the air shifted, then a sound low and dry escaped her lips. "Not broken," she said, "just waiting." Eli froze. That voice, it wasn't loud, but it shook the corridor, not because of power, but because it was real, full of weight, full of years. She hadn't spoken in decades. Not to anyone. The guards had always said she couldn't speak, that she was too wild, too unstable, too alien. But now Eli wasn't so sure. "What are you waiting for?" he asked, carefully standing up. She didn't answer right away. Her glowing fingers tapped the floor slowly. "For someone who doesn't scream," she finally said. "Someone who doesn't run." Eli swallowed hard. Her voice wasn't just strange, it was sad, like someone who had been locked in silence for too long. He stepped closer to the energy wall, just a little. "Why would anyone scream?" he asked. "You haven't even moved." She tilted her head again, curious. "Because I'm the monster," she replied. "That's what they call me." Ellie stared at her. She looked dangerous, yes, but she also looked tired, lonely, maybe even lost. He shook his head. "No," he said, "you're just alone." A long silence filled the corridor. Then the lights flickered overhead. Eli turned back to his tools, pretending to focus, though his hands were shaking. She watched him for a long time, then said, "What is your name, human?" He smiled slightly. "Eli," he replied. "Eli Mercer." She nodded slowly. "I am called nothing," she whispered. "They erased my name." "Then maybe," Eli said gently, "it's time someone gave it back." At that moment, the silence between them changed. It wasn't cold anymore. Something had cracked, something ancient, something deep. Eli didn't know what he had started, but he knew one thing. She wasn't a monster. She was a prisoner, and for the first time in years, she wasn't waiting alone anymore. The next day, Eli came back. No one told him to, and no one wanted him to. The guards stared in shock as he walked past them again. They whispered, "He's crazy." They whispered, "She's playing with him." But Eli didn't care. He felt something pull him, something deep, something strange, and maybe something human. He walked down the same dark corridor, past flickering lights and silent cameras. Cell 9 stood still as always, its energy wall buzzing gently. Inside, she sat in the same position, arms resting on her knees, glowing eyes half closed. But when she sensed him, her head turned fast like a hunting animal. And then, She smiled, not a full smile, not with lips. Just something in her eyes. A softness that hadn't been there yesterday. "You came back," she said. Her voice quiet but clear. "Was I not supposed to?" Eli replied with a smirk. "No one ever does," she said. "Not twice." Eli sat cross-legged on the cold floor outside her cage. He opened a protein bar and took a bite. She watched, curious. "Do you eat?" he asked. Holding up the wrapper, she shook her head slowly. "I don't need to anymore," she whispered. "I evolved past hunger." Eli raised his eyebrows. "Wow," he said. "I still get cranky if I skip breakfast for a few minutes." Neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't awkward, it was peaceful. She looked at the wall, then at him again. "Why did you not run?" she asked softly. "All the others did." Eli shrugged. "I've seen monsters before," he said. "Real ones. And you don't think I'm one of them?" she asked, blinking slowly. "No," he said. "You scare people, yes, but so do thunderstorms." She stared at him, and her glowing eyes narrowed. "You are either very brave," she said, "or very foolish." "Maybe both," Eli replied. "But I know fear, and I don't feel it when I look at you." She leaned forward slightly, close to the energy wall. "The last man who got this close melted from the inside," she said coldly. "Just from my scream." Eli didn't flinch. "I'm still here," he said calmly. "A little sunburned, maybe, but fine." A strange sound escaped her lips like air escaping a cracked stone. Was that laughter? She looked surprised, as if the sound startled her too. "I haven't laughed in I don't know," she murmured. "Decades, maybe." "What's your name?" Eli asked again, his voice gentler now. "I don't have one anymore," she replied. "They erased it when they made me a weapon, but before that?" he insisted. She hesitated, then whispered, "Theraxa." "That was my name, before they changed me," Eli smiled. "Theraxa," he repeated. "That's a beautiful name." She looked down, almost shyly. "They made me kill people, Eli," she said suddenly. "I didn't want to. But when I woke up in war zones, they told me if I didn't obey, entire planets would burn." Eli's smile faded. He could hear pain in her voice. Pain so old it had turned into silence. "You didn't choose to become this," he said. "They did it to you." She nodded. "They feared my power, so they locked me away. But they made me this way." Eli leaned forward, resting his arm on his knee. "You know what I see when I look at you?" he asked. She raised her head slowly. "I see someone who survived something terrible and didn't break." Theraxa blinked again, a flicker of light running through her veins like a pulse. For the first time, she didn't look like a weapon. She looked like someone trapped inside a shell of fear, waiting for one voice, one moment, to remind her she was more than what she had been made into. Eli stood up and stretched. "I'll come back tomorrow," he said casually. "Maybe bring a chair." "Why?" she asked quietly. "Because talking to you is better than talking to machines all day," he smiled. "And I think you need someone who sees you, not just your power." Theraxa stood slowly too, stepping closer to the energy wall. The lights around her dimmed for a second, reacting to her presence. But she didn't attack, didn't roar, didn't glow brighter. "You may be foolish, Eli Mercer," she said. "But I don't want you to go." "I'm not going," he replied with a grin. "Not unless you scream again." She looked him in the eyes, her gaze softer now. "I won't," she said. "Not at you." As he walked away, Theraxa sat down again. But something had changed. The air felt warmer, the shadows less sharp, and in her mind, a voice echoed, "Why did you not run?" And the answer was simple, because for the first time, someone saw her, not the monster. Every day, Eli returned. He didn't come with guards, or orders, or fear. He came with tools in his hand and kindness in his voice. And every day, Theraxa waited, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. The prison guards still warned him, "She's dangerous." They said, "She's just pretending." But Eli had seen something different in her eyes, Not rage, not madness, but pain, a deep, old pain that didn't come from wounds on the body, but from wounds inside the soul. That day, he brought something with him. It was a small, scratched-up device, an old projector. He placed it carefully on the floor outside her cell. "What is that?" Theraxa asked, tilting her head. "Memories," Eli replied with a smile. "Well, sort of." He turned it on, and a soft glow filled the corridor. A hologram appeared, blurry at first, then clear. It showed a small girl dancing in a field under Earth's sun. The girl laughed, spun in circles, and fell in the grass, giggling. Theraxa stepped closer to the energy wall, eyes wide. "What is that?" she whispered, voice trembling. "My little sister," Eli said, sitting down. "She used to dance like that before she got sick." Theraxa was silent. She stared at the image, not blinking. "She looks free," she finally said. "She was," Eli nodded. "Before the war came." Theraxa sat down on her side of the barrier, as close to him as the wall allowed. "I've never seen something like this," she said softly. "Beauty. Without purpose. You've never seen a child dance?" he asked, surprised. "I was made in a lab, Eli," she said, her voice calm but hollow. "The first time I opened my eyes, I was already part of a battle plan." Eli turned off the projector slowly. "You never had a childhood?" he asked. She shook her head. "They didn't give me time to be a person," she whispered. "Only time to become a weapon." He leaned against the wall, feeling the cold through his uniform. "Do you want to talk about it?" he asked. Theraxa was quiet. Then she looked at her own hands, long, elegant, glowing softly with inner light. "Do you see these lines?" she asked. "They're beautiful," Eli said honestly. "They're not tattoos," she replied. "They're scars from the experiments. The energy they forced into my body left marks." Eli's face turned serious. She continued, her voice steady but full of pain. "They gave me voices in my head, commands that couldn't be ignored. They trained me to react to fear too. Absorb it, to feed on it. That's why people die when they're near me," she said, her eyes flickering. "Their fear becomes my power." Eli stared at her and slowly nodded. "That's why you didn't hurt me," he said. "You weren't afraid," she whispered. "Your calm kept me calm." For a moment, there was only the soft hum of the prison lights. Then Eli asked, "Is there a way to control it?" "No one ever tried to teach me," she said. "They only pushed me harder, tested me more, until I stopped speaking." Eli thought for a long time. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out something else. A small round stone, smooth, polished, almost glowing. He held it in his palm and showed her. "This is from Earth's forests," he said. "It's something my sister gave me when I was afraid." He placed the stone just inches from the energy wall. "Touch it," he said. "Not with your hand, with your focus." Theraxa looked confused. Eli closed his eyes, breathed slowly, and said, "Breathe with me." At first, she didn't understand, but then she mirrored his breathing, slow, deep, steady. The lights in the hallway dimmed, then steadied. The pressure in the air lifted. The power in her body calmed. The stone vibrated softly, then glowed just a little brighter. Eli opened his eyes and smiled. "You did it," he said. "You controlled it." Theraxa's eyes widened. "No one has ever taught me that," she said, her voice full of wonder. "No one ever cared to," Eli replied. "Until now." She reached out her hand and placed it gently against the energy wall. The light didn't spike. The alarms didn't go off. Just a soft hum between them. Eli placed his palm against the same spot on his side. For 1 second, they touched, not skin to skin, but soul to soul. And in that moment, Eli didn't see a monster. He saw a woman trying to remember what it felt like to be whole. Asterisk. The prison moon of Karzal was meant to be unbreakable, buried deep in the rock, surrounded by war drones and force fields. It held the galaxy's worst criminals, but no one expected what happened that day, the day the alarms screamed, the day the power failed, the day Theraxa broke her cage, not to destroy, but to save a human. Eli had come again, like he always did, but this time, something felt different. The lights in the corridor flickered more than usual. A strange smell filled the air, burnt metal and something rotten. The guards were tense, whispering, "Sector 3 is breached." Before Eli could ask, an explosion shook the floor beneath his feet. He was thrown against the wall, his head spinning, tools flying from his bag. From the far end of the corridor, shadows moved, figures in dark armor. Not prisoners but invaders, pirates, known across systems for breaking into prisons to free their kind or kill witnesses. Eli struggled to get up, blood on his forehead. He heard the heavy footsteps, the growls, the sounds of weapons charging. Then, the worst sound came, the humming of the energy wall behind him shutting off. Theraxa's cage was open, and she was standing. For a second, everything froze. The pirates stared at her, shocked, unsure whether to shoot or run. Her eyes glowed like fire, lines on her skin pulsing with raw energy, and yet, she didn't attack. Her gaze moved to Eli, bleeding, dizzy, cornered, and she moved, not with rage, but with purpose. One of the pirates raised a gun. Theraxa stepped in front of Eli, lifting one arm slowly. The gun fired, but the blast stopped. In the air, caught in a glowing field around her hand, she twisted her wrist, and the energy folded, then sent the shot back, striking the pirate in the chest, dropping him instantly. Another one charged, yelling, "She's loose. Kill her." 3 more fired, but Theraxa raised both hands now. A wave of invisible pressure blasted through the corridor, not lethal, but strong. The pirates were thrown backward, like paper caught in the wind, weapons scattering. Eli watched in shock, his body weak. She turned to him, her voice calm and deep. "Stay down," she said. "I won't let them hurt you." More pirates stormed in from the lift. They expected a wild beast, an unstable killer, but what they saw was a warrior. Theraxa moved with control, deflecting shots, knocking them out with waves of sound and light. She didn't kill, only disarmed, only protected. One pirate managed to reach Eli, grabbing him and putting a blade to his throat. "Back off," he shouted, "or I cut his neck open." Theraxa froze, eyes narrowing. Her glow dimmed, but her focus sharpened. She stepped forward slowly, hands raised. "No need to harm him," she said, her voice calm as stone. The pirate laughed. "You think I'm scared of you, freak?" "Not yet," she whispered. Then she vanished in a blink, a flash of light, and she reappeared behind him. Before the pirate could move, she grabbed his wrist, twisted it, and the knife clattered to the floor. She caught Eli as he fell, unconscious, from the pressure, and held him like he was something precious. Sirens wailed. Emergency lights bathed the walls in red. The guards finally arrived, weapons drawn, shouting, "Stand down, monster!" But they stopped when they saw Eli. In her arms, not harmed, not burned, just safe. Theraxa looked at them, not with hate but sadness. "He would have died," she said simply. "I couldn't let that happen." She gently laid Eli on the floor and stepped back, raising her glowing hands. "I will return to my cell," she said. "But not because you command me, because you would ask me to." The guards didn't move. Confused, unsure what to believe, one of them slowly stepped forward, checked Eli's pulse. "He's alive," he said, surprised, "and breathing normally." Theraxa walked back into her cell without being forced. The energy wall came alive again, locking her inside. She sat down quietly, hands on her knees, waiting again, but this time, for someone who had already seen her truth. Hours later, Eli opened his eyes in the medbay. The first thing he asked wasn't, "Am I okay?" It was, "Where is she?" When the guards told him, he smiled through his bandages. "She didn't run?" "No," they said, still confused. "She saved you and surrendered." Eli leaned back, his voice weak but certain. "She's not the monster," he whispered. "She's the hero." And far below, in the heart of the prison moon, Theraxa sat in silence, but her heart felt warm. because for the first time in her life, someone saw her not as a weapon, but as a protector. Eli walked into the corridor again, slower than before. His steps were still weak, his ribs still healing, and the bandages on his face told the story of what happened. But he didn't care about the pain. He only cared about her. Cell 9 stood in silence, as always, but this time she was waiting near the edge. Her glowing eyes already locked onto him as he approached. The energy wall stood between them, humming like always, but something had changed. "I thought you'd rest longer," Theraxa said gently. "I couldn't," Eli smiled. "Not while knowing you were sitting here alone." She tilted her head. "I'm used to being alone." "But you shouldn't have to be," he said quietly, placing his hand near the wall. "Not anymore." She stared at his hand, and then her own. There was a memory burning inside her of the day she caught him. The first time her powers didn't hurt someone. She hadn't meant to protect him. Not at first, but when she saw him bleeding, barely able to stand, her body moved on its own. And nothing inside her screamed, nothing exploded. There had only been stillness, peace. "I don't understand what happened," she whispered. "No one has ever survived touching me." Eli lowered his voice. "Maybe because no one ever touched you with care." For a moment, neither of them said a word. The silence wasn't empty, it was full of something new. A soft warmth, like spring breaking through winter. Theraxa walked even closer to the barrier. So close now Eli could see the tiny blue sparks in her skin. "Do you remember," she said slowly, "the first time I saw your eyes? You looked like you wanted to destroy me." He chuckled. "I did." She nodded. "But something about your calm made me stop." She lifted her hand slowly, trembling. "Eli," she said, "I want to try something, but you must trust." "Me? I already do," he replied without hesitation. Her glowing hand moved toward the energy wall, and Eli mirrored her movement, fingers only inches apart. But the wall still stood between them, always humming, always dividing. "I'm not afraid," Eli whispered. "Can you feel that?" "Yes," she said, her eyes brightening, "and I can control what I feel now." He leaned in a little closer. "You saved me, Theraxa. You risked everything. Why?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Because I didn't want to lose the only person who saw me." Her eyes shone like liquid fire, but her face looked calm, and then she did something she never thought possible. She turned off the energy wall from the inside. A moment of panic rushed through Eli's chest guards in the background screamed. Red lights flared, but Theraxa didn't move. She stood there, hand still reaching forward. No attack, no power surge, no blast of death. Just a quiet invitation. Eli didn't step back. Instead, he reached out, and their fingers touched. For the first time in her life, someone touched her skin without screaming, without falling, without burning. Her hand felt warm, not dangerous. His touch wasn't afraid. It was gentle, careful, respectful. Her entire body shivered not from power, but from feeling something she had forgotten. "Tenderness," Eli whispered. "You're not poison, Theraxa," and tears real. Silver drops rolled down her cheeks. She whispered back, "Then why did they treat me like I was?" He took both her hands in his. "No one ever gave you a choice." "Before," he said, "but now I do. You can be more than what they made you." She looked at their joined hands. No pain, no reaction, only warmth. "You touched me without pain," she said again, as if trying to believe it. "And I'll do it again," he said, and squeezed her hands gently. From the corner of the corridor, a camera silently watched, but no alarm rang. No one stopped them, because no one could understand what was really happening. Not a weapon, not a prison break, but a beginning. The start of something deeper than even Theraxa's power, trust, compassion, and something she had never known before, hope. As the energy wall reactivated behind her, Theraxa looked into Eli's eyes one last time before stepping back. Her voice was softer now, almost playful. "Next time you bring snacks," Eli laughed. "Only if you promise not to vaporize the chips." She smiled. and this time it reached her eyes. And for the first time since she was created, Theraxa went to sleep with a feeling in her chest she couldn't name. But it was something human. Theraxa was not just a secret anymore. She was a problem. A problem that had now touched a human and didn't kill him. And that fact alone scared more people than all her past destruction. The footage of Eli and Theraxa touching, no injury, no attack, no death spread fast. First to the Warden of Karzal, then to the Galactic Defense Council, and finally, to the media networks that called her the monster that learned his smile. Some called it fake. Others said Eli had been corrupted. But the most powerful voices didn't care about truth or lies. They cared about fear, because if she could control her powers, if she could think and feel, then what else could she do? She must be eliminated, said High Commander Solran, slamming his hand on the table. She's unstable, said another alien admiral. If one human can calm her, what happens when someone else learns to command her? A living weapon. That loves, said a third voice, is more dangerous than one that hates. Orders were signed, codes were activated, and in the cold silence of deep space, a black ship was sent with only one purpose: erase Theraxa forever, and make sure the world forgot she ever had a heart. Back on Karzal, Ellie sensed the change in the air. The guards who once mocked him now avoided eye contact. Cameras followed his every move. Whispers chased his footsteps. He knew something was coming, but no one told him what, until he found the message. Hidden in the corner of his quarters, a small datapad, blinking red. He opened it, and the screen showed one line: termination scheduled, subject Theraxa 72 hours. His breath caught, his hands trembled. He ran without thinking, through the metallic halls, past stunned guards, straight to Cell 9. The wall was still active, the glow soft and steady. Inside, Theraxa sat, calm and silent, her hands folded in her lap, eyes closed like she was meditating. "Theraxa," he called out, slamming his hand on the wall. "They're going to kill you." She opened her eyes slowly. "I know," she said. He stared at her in shock. "You knew?" "They don't hide their fear well," she whispered. "I've heard the way they speak, the way their thoughts echo." "Then why are you still sitting here?" he asked, desperate. "Because if I run," she said, "they'll say I proved them right." Eli stepped back, angry, helpless. "This is insane. You saved me. You didn't hurt anyone. They saw it." "They don't care what I do," Theraxa replied softly. "They care what I could become." He placed both hands on the energy wall, pressing his forehead against the barrier. "There has to be a way," he whispered. "I won't let them take you." Theraxa stood up and walked closer, their faces only inches apart through the shimmering wall. "You don't have to save me." "Eli," she said, "you've already given me more than anyone ever did." "No," he said firmly. "That's not enough. Not this time." A voice crackled over the prison coms. "Security alert. Human technician Eli Mercer is banned from Sector 9. Effective immediately." Eli's heart sank. They were locking him out, cutting him off from her. He turned back to Theraxa one last time, eyes burning. "I'm not giving up," he said. "Even if the galaxy wants you dead, I will fight for you." And then, they dragged him away. 3 guards grabbed his arms and pulled him out of the corridor. He didn't fight back, not yet. But deep in his mind, a plan was already forming. Theraxa sat alone again, but it felt different now. Not cold, not forgotten. Just waiting, because she believed in one impossible truth. One human could be stronger than 1,000 soldiers. If his heart was full of fire. That night, she closed her eyes, and for the first time, she prayed, not to gods, but to the stars, that Eli would return, that she wouldn't die a weapon, that she could live as something else. Someone else, in the distance, in the black of space. The kill ship approached, no signals, no lights, just darkness with purpose. Inside, machines loaded energy weapons. Coordinates locked on one target. Cell 9, subject. Theraxa, termination. Confirmed. But it didn't know the human was coming too, and he wasn't coming alone. The sky above Karzal turned black, not with night but with something worse. The kill ship had arrived. It floated silently above the prison moon like a ghost made of metal. No warning, no words, no chance to negotiate. Only one signal sent directly to the warden. Execute subject Theraxa, now. Inside her cell, Theraxa stood alone. Her glowing skin was dim, her face calm, but her eyes were tired. She had stopped trying to explain herself to the galaxy long ago. But one part of her heart still beat with hope that he would come. Eli, the only one who didn't flinch when she spoke, the only one who ever called her by her name. In a storage bay deep inside the prison, a blast door opened. A small group of engineers and medics turned in shock as Eli Mercer stepped in wearing stolen armor. "Are you insane?" one of them hissed. "They'll kill you if you go near Cell 9. "Then I better be fast," Eli answered, pulling out a hacked clearance card. "I need 2 people who believe she doesn't deserve to die." The room went silent. Then one woman stood up, a young alien medic with wide gray eyes. "I saw her save you," she said. "That's not what monsters do." A second followed, an older man who had served in 3 wars. "She held back her power," he said. "A weapon doesn't hold back. A person does." Eli nodded, his voice steady now. "Then let's save her." Back in Cell 9, alarms flashed red. A robotic voice echoed through the halls. "Stand back from walls. Energy purge beginning in T-180 seconds. Theraxa looked up at the ceiling calmly. So, this was it. Not a battle, not a fight, just a silent execution from orbit. Her fingers touched the floor beneath her as she knelt and closed her eyes. But in her mind, she whispered just one word: Eli. Then she heard it. Boom! The door to the corridor exploded inward. Sparks flew, guards scattered, and through the smoke stepped one figure, helmet off, face bruised, eyes burning. "Theraxa!" Eli shouted, running toward the glowing cage. She opened her eyes, shocked. "You came," she said, voice breaking. "Of course I did," he replied. "You thought I'd let them kill you?" "There's no time," she said. "The energy purge is coming. There's nowhere to run." Eli reached into his belt and pulled out a small metal box. "This is a pulse key," he said. "It can shut down the field for 30 seconds. Just enough to get you out." "But what then?" she asked. "They'll hunt me across galaxies." "They'll hunt us," Eli said, stepping forward. "Because I'm not leaving without you." She stared at him, emotion trembling across her glowing face. "You'd really risk your life for me?" "Theraxa," he said softly. "I already did." Then he whispered, "Because I believe you're more than they ever saw." She stepped forward, her hand touching the wall one last time. He pressed the device to the panel. The hum stopped. The barrier dropped, and Theraxa stepped into the world again, free. The corridor shook. A warning sounded. Energy cannon charging. 90 seconds to impact. They ran, guards chasing them, walls crumbling. But Theraxa didn't attack anyone. She simply moved fast, protecting Eli, guiding him like a flame through darkness. Her powers rippled, but never harmed. She was not destruction anymore. She was will. They reached the hangar, where a stolen shuttle waited. Eli's allies had already activated the controls. "Go!" they shouted. "We've got your escape window." As the engines roared, Theraxa hesitated, turning back to the prison. Behind her, "This was my cage for decades," she said. "But now it ends." She raised her hands, and for one final moment, released her energy. But not to kill, to shield. She sent a wave of power upward, into the sky, meeting the cannon blast before it could strike. The energy crashed like thunder, lighting up the heavens. Then silence. The ship missed. The moon cracked but didn't break. And inside the shuttle, Eli pulled Theraxa into the cockpit. "You saved us all," he whispered, "and now it's time we save you." The shuttle disappeared into the stars. No one knows where they went. Some say they were captured again. Others believe they escaped to a hidden world where no one fears her name. But one message was broadcast across the galaxy by Eli Mercer himself, a short video with just a few words. She has a name, her name is Theraxa, and I dare anyone to forget it. And for the first time in history, the monster had a name, and the human who loved her made sure it would never be erased again.